What's on your mind?
So we're members of Who's Diversity, as you know, a collective of undergraduate and graduate students. And we're here today in the spirit of every form of civil disobedience that has taken place on this campus, the legacy of activism, and the spirit of people that have felt the oppression of this institution that has made us feel marginalized. And every single day, most of us feel uncomfortable on this campus, while there's a particular group of students that just feel that are able to engage in sort of go into classrooms and engage in these various forms of capital between professors that look like them, but we don't have professors that look like us here. We have a list of demands that we've been asking you to respond to. We've asked you to end the racialized crime alerts. You assured us that that was your goal at the end of last year. It has not happened. We've talked to you about the neglect of Chicano studies. We know, as underrepresented students of color that are from these neglected communities, that the neglect of Chicano studies on this institution, at this campus, is but a reflection of the way society treats the brown barrios in society. The way the way this institution treats African and African-American studies is but a reflection of how the black ghetto is treated. The way you treat American Indian studies is but a reflection of how indigenous people are treated, maltreated on reservations in Indian country. We are demanding today, as we have demanded before, that you recognize the humanity, the dignity of these underrepresented groups, of underrepresented students. Understand that we can't continue with this mismatch between students of color and the professors that they learn from, the faculty of color and the students they teach. Just yesterday, I received notice from my advisor that he's leaving my department. He is a faculty of color. He and his partner are leaving sociology. What does that mean? We have, like, what, 3 professors of color now? Who are we supposed to identify with? You talk about diversity, but we've talked about this again and again. We don't want cosmetic diversity. We do not want to sprinkle a few black and brown administrative faces on this campus and call it diversity. We are diversity. We engage in real conversations about what it means to be oppressed. We talk about race, class, gender, sexuality, ability, citizenship, not in those individual dimensions, but how they intersect. You do not do that on this campus. You take things in these little compartmentalized identities and call it diversity. We know everyone who walks around this campus feels uncomfortable who is from an underrepresented community because people on this campus do not look like us. The police who search us and arrest us do not look like us. We do not need this harassment anymore. We are sick and tired of this, and so we have to take over this space because every day when we feel uncomfortable, you still are able to have your sense of comfort. So we have to make you feel uncomfortable a little bit in order for you to hear what we're trying to say. We've tried to engage in institutionalized dialogue. That does not work. Why? Because you have set the parameters, Dr. Kaler, for the terms for which we disagree, and that's unfair. We've invited you across the street for a community forum. What happened? You said you don't want to go. But you can travel thousands of miles to meet with plutocrats, big business, fat cats, about University Matters. And please, everything that I'm saying, this is an honest truth. And I know the truth is an offense, Dr. Kaler, but you know also that the truth is not a sin. So I'm asking you to listen to our truths, our unapologetic truths right now. A lot of people around in this room right now have a lot to say. And it's not about just listening to us, but we are not leaving until our demands are met.
Yeah, you sit comfortably in your office and you talk about how it's your space, but yet again and again the university has eroded the spaces that students of color call their own without consideration for what students actually are experiencing at this university. So yes, you have your office, it may be sacred to you, it may be your office, but we don't have these kinds of things at the university. And we've been asking, and when we protest, you look at us and you tell us that we're not acting in the legacy of Martin Luther King. Your administration shames us. That's enough. Like, what else do you want us to do? You know, just a week ago, the OED office sat there and talked about how the Morrill Hill takeover was something to be remembered and honored. They forgot to say that many of those students were criminalized, that many of those students didn't get their degrees for years, and that half the things that those students achieved have not been, are no longer in place. So MLK may have been established, but slowly that space is being opened up to other students because it's not accessible enough or it's not inclusive enough. The second floor was not inclusive enough. Our departments, slowly the faculty are leaving. And what can we do other than speak to you and get the same runaround? You know, OED is supposed to be there for us, but when we say something, they back the excuses that the university has given us. And we have never called you out in public, none of the OED people, because we respect that you're here to do your job, and we hope that you're actually acting on the spirit of students of color. But when we speak, you know, you all are not listening. So we feel that in honor of the Morrill Hall takeover of 1969, the Morrill Hall takeover of 1971, and the Morrill Hall takeover of 2005 by the general college students who were criminalized, arrested, and mazed, and we're only able to sit in this office for 6 hours. It's our duty to sit here today and ensure that students get the justice that they deserve and that our voices be listened to. We're not trying to, this is a nonviolent action, so we're not trying to push anyone, we're not trying to push the police out of the way, but the fact that we can't even sit in here and that the police are already waiting here is just a reminder of how students of color are treated at this university, and we're not going to stand for it anymore. And by blocking us or by stopping us, you all are a part of the legacy of the people who are stopping progress at this university. So you remember that in terms of what legacy you want to be a part of. And we hope you all will meet our demands. We only have 8 demands. One, that Chicano Latino Studies get the faculty that left replaced, and that 2 more faculty be hired in the next year. Geography, which is not a very diverse department in itself. It got an additional 4 faculty lines because the candidates were so great. Well, what about Chicano Latino Studies? You think we don't have great faculty waiting out there to be hired? So not only do we demand that 2 more faculty be hired in the next year, but that 2 faculty and that 1 faculty be hired for the next 8 years until 8 faculty members there's 8 faculty members in that department. That racial descriptors and complexion descriptors be removed from the UMPD crime alerts. We talked about this with you, President Killer, and you have talked with several people. And again, you said that you understood this, but there was no action in 2014. And we understand that people like Pam Wheelock are not in agreement with us, and that there are some people who are allies to our cause, but we need everyone to be on board with this issue. That the decision to close PSTL be reversed immediately, and that a cluster hire of faculty of color be started in 2014 in solidarity with Riggs. That a program be established to recruit high school students from working class neighborhoods. That all students be required to take at least 1 class from the Ethnic Studies departments or from the Asian American Studies program. That at least 1 restroom in every building on campus is accessible to all genders, and that language on the admissions application be removed that talks about prior convictions, criminal offenses, histories of expulsion, suspension, and probation. This is just 8 demands. You know that we have more than 30, but we see these as immediately able to be addressed, and so we are asking that these be addressed. And we understand that you have a restaurant to be at, but these issues are important, so we are expecting an answer as soon as possible.
Can I respond to you now?
Yeah, we'll be here.
So the crime alert is a conversation in process. There are lots of voices to be heard, and we're working. In fact, we had a meeting this morning to talk about how to make those next steps. So that's in progress. Apparently.
And can I also ask that you address all of us? It's not just the 2 of us. We're all here.
Well, I can't.
We can move over here.
I'll move around as we go. So that's a work in progress. The faculty hiring, again, I've said to some of you, is a slow process. And the provost has directed the deans, and I have a meeting with deans this afternoon, to put in place processes that will enable a more diverse faculty pool to be brought to campus, from which we should be able to hire a more diverse population of faculty. It is against the law to have a cluster hire of people of color. It's illegal. So we can't do that.
So, but do you understand the history, the legacy of this institution has engaged in cluster hires of white people? That's the reality.
But I can't put a job classification out that says, advertisement that says only white people can apply. That's illegal.
We discussed this issue with you for more than an hour last time when we met, and we talked about ways that you can target faculty of color in a way which does not necessarily need to use that language. You have a cluster of faculty in terms of the Race, Indigeneity, Gender, and Sexuality Consortium that have been talking about this issue. And again, their demands their issues that they want addressed have also been silenced in many ways. So if they are willing to engage with you on this conversation, and there's faculty who are willing to engage in this conversation, I think that there's more that can be done that isn't being done. And again, we ask that we're not leaving this office until we come back with like concrete steps. And you said it's time consuming. Well, we have all the time.
Well, the process is one in which I said, which the provost will direct dean, and I want us to have a more diverse faculty. I've said that, it's true. I want that to happen. So we'll put in place processes that should be able to attract a more diverse group of candidates to come be faculty members at the University of Minnesota.
We were thinking about designing those today, since we have the time.
Say that again.
We're planning on designing those today, since we have the time.
Okay. Crime Alerts faculty, being able to recruit students from more diverse populations, undergraduate students, is a priority of the institution. We put in place the President's Emerging Scholars Program just last year to provide additional financial aid for students who find it difficult to attend the university for financial reasons. We work hard on this. It's a priority, but it is also true that creating a climate where people are more welcome is an equally important part of what we do. I understand the pressures you feel. I understand the difficulty of being a student of color here, and many of you experience microaggressions and feel unwelcome, and I wish that was not the case, and we'll work hard to make it not the case.
We'd like to hear from your office about what else you're going to do in addition to the President's Scholars. We're here to actually ask for more. So we have time for you all to draft new proposals because there's more that needs to be done. We talked about recruiting students of color, and you came back with that it was illegal to recruit students of color itself. So what about targeting the high schools that are where working class students are coming from? We know that you have targeted students from Korea, from China, from different cities. If you can go to other countries to target the elite in those places, why can't you walk across the street and actually do something to target the working class students that live in the community surrounding this university? So you have time and the effort and the money to target those students, to target international students. And we see international students as our brothers and sisters because we know that they face the same racist crap when they get to this university. But we know also that your university has increased the number of international students in the last 10 years and doubled it. So how is it that you can double those, but even though students of color have been talking about this issue since the 60s, if not before that you can't double those numbers, that those numbers have stayed stagnant for the most part?
So to increase the pool, to attract interest at the university, we, for example, have started a reading mentoring program at Ramsey Middle School.
Those are very small programs. So what can we do on an institutional level to target those students? General College was an example of that, and you all know that General College was successful in recruiting students of color, but it didn't fit with your mission of excellence. It didn't fit with your view of how this university should be seen around the world.
So OED is aligning with undergraduate admissions to do a cadre of programming starting in the 8th grade. We know that we have to try and assist K-12 with, number one, closing the achievement gap, and number two, making students see the U as their top college choice. So we're starting programs starting in the 8th grade, multicultural connections, having a pilot where we are really having high touch with those students who actually can see the U as their top college choice. Part of the connections here is to be able to come to events like the open space, to hear these kinds of things, to read the campus climate report. Again, this is not going to happen overnight. Diversity work doesn't happen overnight. It is a on the ground, step by step, making these connections with K-12, with administrators, with guidance counselors, to have them see the work that we're doing as a part of the process. But again, we have to have much more a commitment to community and a commitment to having these dialogues versus just, having the demands. Part of what we want to do, and which we've encouraged each of you to be a part of the process and a part of the solution. This work is long term. This work is not going to happen overnight.
So this still happened overnight. I came back from my honeymoon, and I've been a grad student in CNI for a few years, and had heard nothing about this being on the table. And it took most of the faculty by surprise. Why was a decision as monumental as that not opened up for public feedback or dialogue? Where was the dialogue then? It just, Dean Quam, I know, said it wasn't her responsibility because CLA was pushing for this for years. Why couldn't we've gotten feedback on that before the decision was made to shut it?
I think what I'm trying to say is that when we want to increase diversity, we have to have these long, slow steps. But when it is, anytime that the university takes the steps towards decreasing diversity, it happens overnight. Especially when there is pushback, like this one, there's pushback against the closing of General College, and a university is supposed to serve its students, and when students are saying, we don't want this to happen, it happens anyway. So I think what Zach is trying to say is, we get the same old sort of tired speech about how slow it has to happen and how we have to have conversations. But that's only when we're increasing diversity. That's only when we're reversing the white supremacist foundations of this university. Because white supremacy this university is founded on white supremacy. We are on Dakota land, right? And and when we're trying to talk about closing departments whose work gave you the vocabulary to talk about what microaggressions. Those are our people, right? But you're talking about closing down systematically, passively departments who give you the language to talk about diversity and racism, and you're saying it's not worthy. So to me, and as a university, which is supposed to be more than about how many majors you have, because last week, President Kaler, you told me that one of the reasons that we weren't investing in Chicano Studies, one of the reasons why Chicano Studies wasn't excellent, I guess, is because we had 7 majors. But is this university about majors? Is it about how much money we can get? Or is it about serving the community? The community that this university is founded on. The community that this university is supposed to serve. Is it about majors, or is it about creating knowledge and serving the people? That's what I want to know. And your response saying that Chicano Studies somehow isn't necessarily par excellence because we have 7 majors, that to me seems like an insult. Because this university isn't about, I never knew that coming to the university, that I was coming to a university with lots of majors. I thought I was coming to University of Minnesota as a place to learn and expand my knowledge as a student.
And Chicano Latino Studies serves multiple.
And I don't think I said that the program wasn't excellent because it only had 7 majors. I don't think I said that. What's the evidence that you see that closing Pistol, which I think involved redistributing its programs into other departments, is reducing the diversity?
When the General College closed, the same thing happened. Faculty were redistributed, and the hope was that the students would just join other departments, and we know that significantly changed the access that students had to this university. So when we see Pistol closing, and last time it was kind of like divide and conquer kind of strategy, because the faculty were offered other positions while the students who were being served by that program were voicing how they did not want that program to be closed. So yes, the faculty will not be fired and they will still be on this campus, but the students who are being served will no longer have that program. So, again, when students are speaking, you're not listening to us. And even when faculty are speaking, because like we said, we know that there are faculty of color who have spoken to this administration about the lack of diversity. When Luis Mendoza left the OED office, he wrote a long letter to this administration about why he was leaving, was because of the conditions that existed at this university. So,
and he was one of those top scholars that your administration keeps telling us to get. So if we get one, how are we going to keep them? How are we going to keep them? How am I going to tell? How am I going to tell Sherman Moraga? How am I going to tell, I don't know, anybody outside of Minnesota to come here when I know I'm serving them a dish of crap? Come to this department that has one of their faculty that gets so little funding. Please come. Absolutely, it'll be great. No, they're going to leave.
I mean, I'm not privy to a lot of the facts. I don't know all the details of it, how pistols being redistributed. But I just met with one of my committee members the other day who said part of the original plan, if I'm correct, was to take some of the pistol faculty and have them join with the counseling psychology program within their site. But that program itself is being closed now. So where are those pistol faculty going to go? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
More than that, it's being in part of a community where you get to see people like you, right? That's why General College is so great, because you walked into Appleby and you saw poor people, people of color. They look like you, and that's why you stay. Because we have Chicano Studies students coming into us from outside of the state and saying, I can't stay here because I don't see anyone like me.
And I work at the Center for Writing, and this morning worked with an undergraduate Chicano student who wrote an essay all about La Raza and how important that's been to her, studies and becoming a better student. And she's now mentoring other students.
And if you want to see programs and departments like Chicano Studies increase in numbers in terms of the number of students, you have to think about what type of outreach is being delivered to the communities themselves. Students are coming into this university not even understanding the program itself. On Friends of Chicano Studies website, there's a specific demand, a specific proposal to have this greater outreach to the public school system, develop a curriculum that reflects what's being taught at this school so students have that preparedness coming in. What is the response to that? If you want to talk about increasing numbers, the students are so concerned about just trying to make it in the school that they can't even explore that aspect of their identity because they're so worried about the majority white system that has already set them up as already rendered them invisible. And there's greater outreach to the community. And we've talked about this already, but our definition of community seems very different. In our last meeting together, Dr. Abdullah said that community specifically relates to issues on this campus. For us, we have, as underrepresented students of color on this campus, we would be doing ourselves a disservice if we were not in your office today after the way you've been treated. Because of our marginalization, we know that coming from the communities we come from, we've left people behind. We've left people behind that also deserve to be in this space but don't have the extra initials behind their name, BA, MA, PhD, but they're just as much an intellectual as you are. But no one in this administration seems to appreciate that. So we have no other choice but to be here, because in that we are responding to the mandates of our conscience, as Dr. Miller said. We are doing that right now. And we like to talk about the tradition, but I don't know how we can articulate or actually relay those words in such a hollow way, in such a meaningless way. We are substantive diversity that we've been talking about, but that you don't seem to appreciate.
Well, I don't think it's fair to say that I don't appreciate diversity. I think it's incredibly valuable. I recognize the importance. We have efforts to create greater diversity amongst our student body. We have activities and plans to grow diversity amongst our faculty. It takes time.
We know that it takes time, so that's why we expect you to return with proposals, and that's why we're asking for that today. We know that your staff is here, and that you may not have had this plan today, but we can't wait any longer. So we expect that you all come back with proposals. And you say it can't be done overnight, but we also know that, for example, the decision to hire more faculty can be made by Dean Coleman. That is a decision that can be made today, and we can't wait another 6 months, another 2 years. The Department of Chicano Studies was established with the promise that they would get more faculty. Luis Mendoza, he was hired with the promise that he would get more faculty. No, the department has been promised that there would be more faculty. Should it wait another 40 years, even though it's one of the oldest Chicano Studies programs or departments in the entire country? It's a shame. It's really sad.
What does that say about your university? Whose priorities are being prioritized here? When you have a department that is foundational, when you have a department that is known across the country as as being a gem to the the Midwest, and your university has never had more than 2 faculty members. What does that say? Take a moment and just think about what that says. When you have a department, how can you not expect us to be angry? How can you not expect us to be impatient? We've been patient for 40 years. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. We are not insane, and we are here to tell you that.
And also, time is a very vague and abstract category. We keep talking about this being a process, but your definition of process is a lot different than ours. When we talk about time, we're talking about February 9th, 2015, right now. Let's talk about this time. These demands cannot wait. Let's talk about setting deadlines if you want to talk about time, but you can't just say, let it be a process and let it run its course, because that's not no assurance for us. Our lives are then still held in this very precarious state. This very uncertain state where we don't know what's going to happen. We just have to trust that President Kaler said it's a process, and so maybe it'll come, maybe it'll come, maybe it'll come. We've done that way too long. We've done that way too long. So we're gonna be here.
Anybody else want to talk to me?
I personally just want to know, well, I know that there's, like they said, over 30 demands on the original demands, and I only came in here with the intention because I believed all 8 of those demands that we have in that, on that paper that she has can be done today, and so I'm not leaving until you agree to all 8. That's what I have to say.
These are doable, and these are doable today.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to say something. Thanks for coming and listening. I just believe that what we're doing today is deeply radical in the best sense of that word, and I just beseech you to think about the impact and not of letting
They're saying that I should start bringing the meeting in
the actual the pain that is felt of
You know, you're not, people are to be able to stay in front of those private offices.
Well,
That may be
Hey, everybody, let's bring the meeting into this office.
no, we're not doing that.
And I shouldn't be doing this, by the way, so.
Yeah, it's okay.
Let it be. We need you to leave this office, please.
I mean, that is something that would probably trigger an arrest. We don't want it.
Yeah, this
We
will
really
trigger an
don't want
arrest.
that.
They're plain and simple.
We don't.
Well, all right. The choice is
You're
falls in
welcome.
your court.
You're welcome to hear, but this is my private office. There are things in here that are confidential.
Yeah, we don't want your papers.
We don't want your papers.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, we don't want your papers, we don't want the art, we just want a different university. We want the space transformed.
Oh my
We have a
God.
list of demands that would help with
Look at everybody out there.
I'm sorry, it's not. You guys, this is when you start disrupting the. No, you cannot. Start disrupting the business of the university.
This is going to end up with an arrest, unfortunately. I really don't want that. Do you, did you for that?
I don't want an arrest, I want the university to respond to our
Okay, I
demands.
understand.
No, but this is about impacting, now you're impacting the business of the university.
Right. but
We
that's
literally
what
pay for this
but see,
office.
that's the issue. We have to come to this point in order for y'all to listen to us.
And our business is impacted and interfered with every single day when we're in a classroom with people that don't look like us and that don't teach like us or that
None of
reflect
you
our
look like
biology.
us. None of you.
Someone's getting arrested, y'all.
Hang on until we
To be honest, like, it would be a privilege and an honor to be arrested for doing something like this, because we know what we're doing is right and not wrong.
No, it's not going to be big.
I mean, obviously, they're willing to let you have the space out here, but we can't leave people in the presence.
Well, let's stay back here. Come on, you guys.
We have a responsibility. We're responding to our conscience
You're
right now.
fine. Can you
To be
please just
arrested
sit
right
out
now,
here?
we already know what we're doing is right and not wrong, that you already inverted morality so that wrong is right and right is wrong.
Stop. Okay.
You're doing this.
Stop pushing.
Okay, like, help me.
You've already...
Can we please sit down just out here?
Would you do this to your
guys,
kid?
why?
Would you do this to your own
Why
kid?
is this such a big deal?
Would you do this to your own
Because
kid?
you have taken over our space. We need to have
Would
a
you do
sense...
this to your own kid?
Would you do this to your own kid? Would you push your own kid?
Hold this.
I'm going to have a conversation out here.
Do you enjoy the pushing and shoving, President Kaler, or would you like to just come in? That's all we want to do is come in. This is becoming physical, and it doesn't need to be that way.
I'm sorry.
To be arrested is... This is a non-violent, peaceful protest.
No, you're being violent. You're using force against me.
Yes, you are. You don't have to push me.
I'm just standing. Look how much I weigh.
Not you.
What do you have
I'm just standing here.
You're letting him push me. You don't have to let them block the way.
This isn't just us watching. This is a lot of people watching this.
And we will talk out here. We've been talking out here.
We want to talk in there.
It wants to come back out, so that means you're going to have to leave too.
We're not leaving.
Well,
if he wants to come, like, he can come, but I'm not.
Do you want this to be your legacy?
This is not my legacy. I'm happy to talk with you, as I have said, about these issues at your
He's leaving.
Like roundabout dialogue. All I've been doing is diversity.
Shame on you all. I wish I could hold up a mirror to you right now because you're treating us like we're criminals. And you're treating us like we're doing something bad. But think about the greater impact of something like this, something like today, for decades to come.
Think about the impact it has had. The reason that half of us are here is because of some other people did the exact same thing. Yeah. And you're repeating that. You are basically being a segregationist. You are saying that what we are doing is not valid.
Look at your bodies, look at the way you're looking at us, look at the way you're standing.
Someday you're going to look back on this and be really embarrassed about yourself.
The students united will never be defeated. 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 The students. Oh, racial profiling's got to go.
Hey, hey, ho, ho. Racial profiling's got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Racial profiling's got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Racial profiling's got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Racial profiling's got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Racial profiling's got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Racial profiling's got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Racial profiling's got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Racial profiling's got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Racial profiling's got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho. Racial profiling's got to go. Hey, hey. Wait. Racial profiling's got to go. Hey, hey. Hey, get off your chest. Get off your chest. Hey, hey. Please stand back. Stand back, guys. Stand back. Stand back.
Stop.
Here, I'll help you up, okay? You guys gotta stand back. How's she gonna hurt herself with someone else's knee? Back up, everybody. Please back up. Please back up. We can figure things out here in a second. We gotta get room.
That means you back up till I tell you.
You gotta take your elbow off that clock right there.
I'm gonna fall if I take my elbow.
Oh, you're good. Take another step back.
Okay. You don't need to pull her. Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop. Say what?
Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop. Say what?
Ain't no power like the power of the people,
Because the power of the people don't stop.
Say what?
Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop.
Say what?
Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop.
Say what?
Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop.
Say what?
Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop.
Say what?
Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop.
Say what?
Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop.
Say what?
Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop.
Say what?
Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop. Say what? Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people don't stop.
Say what?
Ain't no power like the power of the people, because the power of the people say what?
Fund our departments, not luxury apartments.
Our university!
Whose university?
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 Our university!
Our university.
Our university!